right. Hey, y'all, what's going on? I am Antasia Moore here. Welcome to where we are writing our GTTs, where we have our close ticket topics. And I am so happy to have you all here. Um, I have started writing this book when I was maybe 18 years old. And of course, now that you all have gotten to know myself and know me and know what it is that I think about, I am now going into 36 come October. So I am 35 now as we speak. And yes, I have taken some time out to go through some things and experience some of what our entire book consists of. And so I've really been able to become this persona. And I have realized that I have had times where some of the characters in our memoir, which is available on barnesandnoble.com, has caused myself great pain. Timothy Connor is a really big instance here. He has really chosen to be a bit much, even though he's much older than who I am starting out. And as a young female, you realize that all guys cannot just be friends with entities, even if that is what is most appropriate. So you have to kind of sort of watch yourselves and your ability to conduct yourself around said entities. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you realize that sometimes people can have cutthroat competitors. Their competition can be to the point where they're willing to sacrifice their own sainthood and their ability to scale and reason and have thoughts of heavenly thinking and these issues and patterns in order to scale their own businesses, which of course is a failure. That is not how life works. But yet and still people choose to do these things anyway. So again, you will see that he is forefront in majority of this particular autobiography. And these are some of the reasons why. He did not choose to be as forthright as was considered some. And so let's stop here and discuss that a little bit more in a GTT matter. And so you can look at all of these abilities and reasoning that, oh, why didn't you just go and do what the other young ladies may have done? And you see it's riddled with all kind of issues. You see Diddy now having as many issues as one has only been able to possibly just imagine, let alone actually execute and live through. And yet and still, I prefer writing as an outlet to allow myself as well as just whatever is taking place to have that ability to say, I don't have to express myself in the manner that everybody else is choosing to do so. I'm a creative outlet entity, so I prefer what I prefer. And that's where I encourage you all to do the same things. Now, the particular instances where things of this nature has kind of sort of been what it was. It's like, people who are supposed to lead and be the leaders of these world, Timothy Connor as a perfect example, and they have absolutely inability to do these things over and over and over again. And that's where you begin to distinguish who is necessarily really going to have that ability to be in your corner, or this inability to practice as how they conduct themselves in a harmonious spirit. You're going to have one or the other. And when you really are trying to figure out these kind of stepping stones as to how you conduct yourself in a society where this is riddled as a normality, and it's not. So you have those problems that persist in this particular autobiography. And the issue is that either people stem from having poverty in their mindset, they either stem from being able to realize that they're rather be uneducated than educating themselves on how to conduct themselves in society when it comes to dealing with either sex. And they won't do these things as well, which only aids to the chaos and dysfunction, and which eventually leads to our demise, which is our own thought and thinking patterns. So again, when you are really, and I'm sure this is probably going to really rattle up some feathers and things like that, but I'm prepared for these things and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And so let's say, for an example, you have that moment there and someone's thoughts are getting the better of them at this particular moment in time. And as an entrepreneur spirit, you have to kind of sort of weigh out those tricky waters. And how do you do these things? That's a great question. So for myself, I look around and think of different quotes that are really helpful and useful. For an example, when I deal with Timothy Connor, one of the main characters that is in this particular autobiography, the Route 60 memoir, written with Love Sapphire by myself, and I am Antasia Moore, AA and BA degree, you realize that you have an instance there and a person is refusing to do so even though they're the leader. And that's where you distinguish your inability to lead or your ability to lead. And in this particular instance, there was an inability to lead by necessarily just off the strength of one's character, which is also the age of one's entire entity. So that weeds out how you can distinguish who is going to necessarily be what is considered your go-to in the spirit of, okay, well, how can I scale and make my own life better? Then you know not to do this. And by not doing this, this allows you to scale and be who it is that you were meant to be according to God's purpose for your own will and life. So that's an entire particularity of this one said entity and character in this particular autobiography. And so, and of course, there's other instances that things come up as well. You have those moments there where they really lose their logic and their reasoning ability. You have one instance where they have this moment where they're getting upset, they're getting angry at something, and you're really, in myself as this entrepreneur spirit, and am trying to make sure that this person does not have to cause this type of environment, and I give as many best efforts as possible with the current state that I'm in. And that's just because of the demeanor that you have to have as an entrepreneur entity when you're dealing with your entrepreneurial type of endeavors. You don't want to ruffle things that are unnecessary. And truth be told, you don't have to, because when you really come down to it, you shouldn't even really be dealing with what you're doing anyway if you are actually leading. And so that's where things come into certain scenarios as you get ready to kind of figure out how you want to figure out what takes place around as a real live culture. And so you have those examples there, as well as presented in this particular autobiography. So you have at least two that kind of sort of just allows you to experience people's true characters. And then you have the moments where you can make those decisions for yourselves about whether or not scaling is something that these entities are going to be able to mimic in your own brand, or you're going to choose to look elsewhere. And those are readily available thoughts and ideas that are very valid and they're true, and they are allowed to be had. All right. And so I want to make sure I don't forget any other instances, in particular speaking with certain characters. So I think that's at least maybe two. And then, I mean, you can say, for an example, if somebody wants to be able to stop and have their ear to the ground for whatever reasons. And so when someone else has happened to have been able to catch wind of it, and you're not sure if they just assume that clearly in the wrong manner too, though, again, which aids to the inability to lead, that maybe somebody was going to kind of sort of just brush those things off. And then when they did it, and then you still went ahead and did what you did anyway, when maybe necessarily that was a little bit more of an inability to lead thought and thinking pattern. Now there's a frictional instance where there's a battle because you miscalculated your step by just a fraction of a hair. And that's where you begin to lose your street cred, right? Hey, I'm just saying, you had a moment to execute what you thought about. You did that. And once we're after that moment now, we have to realize, was this the best choice? If the answer is yes, cool, you ain't got nothing to worry about. If the answer is no, then necessarily, so to speak, you know that you lost something. You have truly earned that type of losing ability. All right, y'all, I'm gone. Till next time where we have another moment for our book tour. I'll check back out with you all a little bit later, and you can come back here and keep yourselves posted for what's taking place and going on. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. All right.